All right, guys, on behalf of Professional Title, Landcastle Title is our parent company. We're owned by Fidelity. I want to welcome you all. Today, we're going to talk about 29 different ways to attract listings. As we know that's what's kind of driving the market right now. So a little bit about me. My name is Ryan McHugh. I have been licensed as a real estate agent across 2 states, New Jersey and Florida, for a little over 10 years now. I've been a single agent. Ran the #1 team in the state of Florida. We did over 400 units and over 90 million in volume 3 years in a row. We were actually number 11 in the world in units. Then I took over a couple of Keller Williams offices down in South Florida, was the team leader for a while. And for the last year, I have been fully vested and into some of our South Florida title company locations that partner with Kent and Cindy. So what I do now is I just deliver value to our agents. I help train them. I help them make more money. And we really believe in the win-win. We know if we deliver value to you guys, help add transactions to your year, add net income to your bottom line, that you are going to give some of those back because it's only fair, right? So all I ask at the end of this or throughout this is if you learn anything that helps you go out and take another listing or do an extra deal, throw that deal to Cindy or throw that deal to Kent and help them, because we're going to build your business. And that is how we build our business as well. So I will not sales pitch it throughout this, I promise. And we will record this. So if you do need it at the end, you absolutely can have it. And if this goes well, please leave them some feedback that you want to do more of these. We've talked about doing some more. So if you guys like this, please let me know. I'm not a sugarcoater. I tell you how it is. From boots on the ground, having been a part of well over 1,000 transactions. So everything I give you is usually right out of my own playbooks and right out of my own database. I don't really hold back or hide anything. So if you have any questions and you want to know, let me know. There's a good chance we've done it in the past. So why do we want listings, right? Listings are leverage, and the best part of our business is leverage. So I was on a little bit earlier, and I had a couple people talking about how mostly they work with buyers. Not necessarily by choice, but usually those are the easier leads to come across. And that's well and good when we're in a buyer's market. However, if you are working with buyers now, I'm sure your market is somewhat similar to ours. We're working with buyers, and being a buyer's agent right now is one of the most difficult things you can possibly do. Whoever holds the listings has all the leverage. And for most of them, as we were talking a little bit earlier, usually if they're priced within 5% or so of being right, you got yourself a deal. Right now in our market, we know if you have a listing, you have a commission check 90 days later, or sometimes less than that later. So we want listings for leverage. Listings are much easier than buyers to scale. When I built our team, I really ran the buyer side. So we had someone running the listing side and I ran the buyer side. And in a good month, the most I could ever do by myself was about 8 to 10 transactions in a month, which sounds great. But on our listing side, we would do 20, 30, 40. So when you look at what you can do to scale, if you're really looking to build a big business, the listing side of the business is the one that is scalable. A good listing agent, if they have good systems in place, can very easily do 30, 35, 40 listings by themselves, maybe with a transaction coordinator, as long as you have systems with buyers, 8 to 10 a month. If you're working full-time, have no life, have no kids like me, you can do it. But other than that, it is pretty darn difficult to scale that thing. So the listing brings the buyers, obviously, right? So we like that they always bring us more deals. We always knew that if we got a listing, we were getting at least one other deal out of that, whether it was another listing because of how we marketed, or whether it was just a buyer lead that came to us. Regardless of if they bought that house or not, they were at least a lead that we were going to spin them somewhere else and sell them something else. And they help you grow a team. So I'm a big team and leverage guy. I know that's not for everybody, but if you are, having listings is really the biggest piece of value you can have. Listings and systems is what draws people to a team, and culture is what keeps them. So if you have listings and you have systems, you're on your way to be able to grow a team. And they lead to a higher quality of life. I don't know if you've had the chance of being a listing agent or a buyer's agent, but on the listing agent side, you could pretty much do the 3 Ps, especially right now, right? Put a sign in the yard, put it in the MLS, and pray that it sells. And that's not quite the case when you are a buyer's agent, right? You're spending your Saturdays, your Sundays, your nights, your weekends, your mornings, even the time that you're asleep, you're spending that finding a way to help the buyers. So with listings, you have that leverage piece that leads you to a higher quality of life. And we really believe that you got to list to last. If you are taking listings and taking market share, you're going to be in this business for the long run. Buyer's agents come and go. And if you know anything about some international real estate, Like in England, for instance, buyer's agents don't even exist. And they say that someday that might happen in our world. There might not be buyer's agents. So got to list to last, got to build that listing inventory, got to control the inventory, because if you have the listings, you are controlling the inventory, you're controlling what sells, and you're controlling your income. Which obviously is a plus, right? Consistent, steady income is good. And of course, because we want more deals. We know if we help you guys get more deals, naturally, we're going to get some more deals back. So I've talked about all the obvious reasons for listings there. What I'm going to do is I'm going to break down 29 different ways to attract listings. I promise you guys have heard of some of these, and I promise you haven't even thought of some of these. And my goal is that when you leave here, I really don't want you to leave with 29 things written down. If you do, that's fantastic. But I want you to leave with, at the most, 3 strategies that you can implement today that's going to help you and your family make more money like tomorrow, by the end of the month or by the end of the year. I teach a lot of these classes, and one of the things I hear all the time is that people get so much information, they get overwhelmed and they kind of get frozen, and then they just don't do anything. And I really don't want that to happen. I want you guys to leave here, with at least 3 things that are just starred or highlighted that you say, okay, I'm into that, and I can implement that. And there's going to be some of the strategies that we talk about today that you just say, that's not me. I don't want to do that. I hate that. And I am totally good with that. I think one thing that people make mistakes with in real estate is thinking that agents have to be okay with or good at everything. And that's not the truth. When we grew our team, we decided that we were just going to be good at 3 things. We were going to work on 3 things at a really high level, do those really, really well, and not care about the stuff we didn't like to do. For us, it was always databases, open houses, and internet leads. For you, whatever they are, we're going to go through a bunch of them today and hopefully help you decide on those. But when we talk about expireds, if you say, I'm not the guy or gal that's going to get up and make 200 phone calls every day, get hung up on 150 times, get told off 20 times, I'm good with that, because that's not me either. I'm what they call the high I, which is like, as soon as 1 or 2 people tell me that they hate me, I'm pretty much done for the day. My mental status checks out. I'm sad, depressed, and I'm done. So if you're not into those things, just skip them, write down the ones that you are. And if you have any questions, either save them to the end or ask me at the end. And if you want to work on some strategies on how to put these into your business, I'd love to help. So here we go. Number 1, leveraging buyers who need to sell. So one of the things we always loved about internet leads and generating lots and lots and lots of buyer leads is, number 1, they're easy to come across. But number 2, most buyers need to sell something. And when you leverage a lot of buyers that need to sell something, you get to control both pieces of the transaction, which is fantastic. Double dipping deals is always nice because we get to make more money, right? And when you're using one title company and you're set in with one title rep that you're using, and you have control over that transaction, you're really controlling your income and you're controlling the process. So think about the first way that you want to try to generate more listing leads is to generate the leads that are easiest for you. And what I find with that, a lot of people, it's buyer leads, whether that's talking to people or internet leads. But I don't want you to think, okay, I only need to focus on buyers and not sellers, because focusing on buyers to generate sellers is a great strategy. Number 2, I should have put last because truthfully, it's my favorite one. And it's one of the ones that we have the most success with down here. It's the old-fashioned wanted ad. So if you type in wanted ad on Google, you can find this. It's also in clip art. It's in Canva. There's all these little things that have wanted pieces. Now, what we do with these, we've been doing this for, I want to say, I moved to Florida in 2012. So we started doing this probably 2013. And this works really great, especially times like now when inventory is just horrible. And if you're working with a specific buyer now that wants something very specific or something that barely exists or is rarely available, I'm sure you're feeling my pain right now and understanding that we're just not finding things. So what we used to do was what we called our wanted ad. And the way that worked was we would take this old-fashioned wanted ad, mostly because I'm a little bit corny, but I like some marketing that sometimes is a little corny and a little jokey. But what we would do is we would take that wanted piece, and right under it, we would take a picture of our buyers. So whoever our buyers were, maybe it's a couple and a kid and their dog. We would take a picture of that and put it in black and white. So it looked like an old-fashioned wanted poster. And then under that, we would put very specifically what they're looking for. So they're looking for a 3-2 with a pool in XYZ subdivision, or they're looking for a 2-2 condo on the water, or they're looking for a 3-2 townhouse with a garage in a certain neighborhood. That really allows us to start having some clarity on what they're looking for. but it allows us to attack and play offense. And what a lot of clients don't like is when they work with a realtor, and some of you, I'm sure, have heard this, they say, oh my God, I can't believe you made that much money. All you did was open the door. Well, when you're using the wanted ad strategy, we're playing offense. And offense is one of the best ways to win, right? To play, especially when you're working with buyers or sellers that are difficult. So what we would do with this wanted ad, we'd take the picture, throw it on there in black and white, write out a little blurb of what they were looking for, and then we would attack, right? We'd play offense. We'd email that entire wanted ad that we made out to everyone in our database to see if they knew anybody that was thinking of selling that fit that criteria. We'd send it out to all the agents in our database. So anyone we did co-broke with, anybody in the MLS we can get a hold of, anybody we met at networking events or mixers or anything like that. We'd blast it out to all of our lenders. We would talk to our title rep because they might have a FSBO or something up their sleeve that everybody else doesn't necessarily know about. We would check the Zillow, Trulia, Realtor.com FSBOs that are off the market that some people don't necessarily see. We would check the coming soons. And then last but not least, we'd either door knock if the neighborhood allowed it, I know some don't, or we would send a handwritten note based on that criteria right to the homes in the tax records that fit it with this wanted poster folded up inside. So they'd open up a handwritten note, pop it out, and this thing would come up, and there would be a little wanted ad, and you'd have Joe Smith and Betty Smith and little child Steve Smith and their dog in the picture saying, these people want to live in your neighborhood. Are you thinking about selling, or who do you know with this model that's ready to sell? We have agents still using this today, getting great results. So the wanted ad, for me, one of my favorites. Like I said, probably should have put it at the end because I get passionate about that one, but love that one. All right, door knocking. How many people love door knocking? Just put in the chat, me, I, raise your hand, do something. I'm sure it's only going to be like 2 of the people that we have on. I know not many people like door knocking at all, especially during COVID and all this fun stuff that we have going on. I know, but still a very, very valid strategy where no one is doing it, especially in Florida when it's 100 degrees in the morning and hurricaning in the afternoon. However, I don't know the numbers on your real estate board, but down by us, we have 40,000 people just in our board, 40,000 agents just in our county in our board. And if 40 of them door knocked, I would be blown away, which is why it's still a valid strategy because no one's doing it. And one thing that we learned when we were door knocking is we would go door knocking with lottery tickets, $1 or $2, whatever the cheapest pack of lottery tickets that you could get. And they only got the lottery ticket if you got their information. So you obviously know their address, right? Because you know the street you're on, you knock on their door, you see the number. If they gave you a name and a phone number and an email, they got the lottery ticket, you got the contact information, and then it's a very easy follow-up the next day, just with the goal of adding to the database. So if they're not ready to go today, very easy to call the next day and say, hey, Steve, it's Ryan over at XYZ Realty. We met yesterday. I knocked on your door. Thanks so much for taking the time to chat with me. Just want to see how you did on the lottery ticket. Very simple call, very easy follow-up. It's totally warm. You're not pushing or stressing them for business at all. Nice and easy, but definitely still a strategy if you're bold enough to get out there and do some door knocking. Next, agent referrals. This still blows my mind in South Florida. I don't know if it's as crazy as it is with you guys, but we have people coming in all the time from different areas that come to us, move into our area, and they sold their house somewhere else, and that agent never made the connection. So what we like to do is go backwards, right? Play catch up kind of on them and look and find out where people are moving from. And very often you can check with your broker. You can even check sometimes, some of the MLSs even have it, but tax records are really great for this as well, where you can see where people are moving from. Even Forbes has a fantastic thing. And one other site, write this down if you've never heard of it. It's called How Money Moves, How Money Moves. And it shows where people are moving from and where people are moving to and the migration patterns. And you can see who's coming into your area, where they're coming from, and then you can attack that area. So not only local referrals, but you can think, okay, for South Florida, people really move from New York, New Jersey, Connecticut. That's like the 3 spots they all move from. Sure, it might be similar by you guys. But we look at that and we can attack agents in that area that are doing business because we know, sure enough, they are going to be sending some people down here throughout their career. We want to be the person that they're connected with. So while it's definitely important to be connected in your local board, I want you to think in the areas that you came from also. If you came from somewhere, there's a good chance somebody else is. So making that agent referral connection, the Forbes money map, how money moves, or just digging into some of the records that your board, your broker might all have for you. Next, come on. Next, all right, downsizing clients. So this is something that some agents in our area specialize in and some that we work with specialize in. They get like the SRES, which is the senior designation, and they'll work specifically in that 55 plus category, or they'll work in the category where people have real big houses in certain school districts that they know pretty much the shelf life on that time of that family being in there is school. And then they'll work with them on the downside. So usually it's an easy sell in a popular neighborhood that other people want to move into. And then it's a buy where there's actually a lot of options because they're downsizing heavily. And it's usually cash, which is also a fantastic transaction. So think about when we're looking at this, think of some ideas on how you could find people that are downsizing. So the common one is moving out of school districts, but then you also have death and divorce and things like that, where you can kind of dive into that a little bit more and look at, okay, why do these things happen, right? Think of all the life events that force people to downsize and look into those and see where you can be the consultant or the one that's going to help. And just like we do that, of course, then we have the other side, right? So usually, not always, but usually the downside is the more negative life events and the upsizing is the more positive life event. So here, we're going to attack people that are starting a family, right? We're going to go after just married. We're going to go after job promotions. We are going to go after anything where they're upgrading their life, looking to move up into that next step and find what we can do to help them and kind of become the consultant in that. A tip I always teach, or a trick I always teach people on that, is to use LinkedIn as the power for this. If you have LinkedIn and you turn on LinkedIn notifications and you really grow a nice LinkedIn network, literally every single day of the week, I get an email and a notification from LinkedIn that is so-and-so got a new job. So-and-so got promoted. Congratulate this person on getting married. Congratulate this person on their promotion. And right away, those are my leads, right? I know these are easy leads. I have 10 friends that got new jobs this week. Great. One of them, at least, their financial situation just improved. And when people's financial situation improves, they look to upgrade two things immediately. It's always car and house. So while I'm not in car sales, I'm sure you guys know somebody that is, find out right away how quickly you can get in front of them and help them upgrade that house. Ideally before they upgrade the car and mess up their finances, right? But LinkedIn is a great tool, great little tip in there. Just turn LinkedIn notifications on and you'll start seeing those things every day if you have a big network, or every week or so if you have a smaller network. Next, past clients. The NAR statistics on this are crazy. I don't want to quote it because I don't know the exact number, but it's something in the high 80% that people say they would use their previous agent. They just don't, because they either forget them, they can't get in touch with them, they didn't follow up. So building that database and making sure that you're really on purpose about that database is one of the best ways to go to just continue attracting listings. You have to look at this and think, if you are really spending money to generate leads or attract new leads, the cost of acquisition on a customer in real estate is usually pretty darn high compared to that cost of retention, which is pretty darn cheap. So think about diving back into that database and not only just staying in touch with them, but again, playing offense. I'm a hockey player, so everything I think about is somehow tied to sports. But when I'm thinking of this, I'm thinking playing offense. And what I mean by that is right now, if it was me, I would look at every single person that I sold the house to from the bottom of the bottom, which depending on where you are is somewhere in the 07, 08, 09 kind of range. So anybody that you sold the house to from the bottom all the way up through like 2015 to 2016, if you contacted them right now, there is a 0% chance that they do not have more equity in their property than they did 6 months ago, 6 years ago, for some people 10 years ago. And a lot of times this is an opportunity for a deal. And for us in the title world, sometimes it's an opportunity for multiple deals, right? The client that we sold the house to at the bottom of the bottom, that was a fixer-upper in say 2010, that maybe they got for 150. They've built equity now over the course of 10 years. So that house is probably worth, let's just say with appreciation, it's worth 200 if they did nothing. They've added, maybe they've spent some money in there and fixed some things up. So maybe we get 225. And of course, they've been making payments for 10 years, hopefully. So they've added equity. So the person that got into that house for 5% down 10 years ago, maybe had equity of 7,500. There's a good chance right now that they have equity of 75,000. And for some people, that's huge money. right? It gives them the opportunity to maybe move up, move down, pay off some debts, sell something and upgrade and keep the same payment. So reach back into that database. Look at everyone you did a transaction with in the past and realize that you can help them right now. And for most people, they have the opportunity to move up, keep their payment roughly the same, and move up. So as a real estate agent, the light should be going off and saying, cha-ching, you know, there's two deals right here. We get a sell and a buy. And we know the way the market is right now. If we have a listing, we have a paycheck, which is good. And then we have something to help them buy. So definitely great opportunity right now with past clients. Rental owners. So rentals have gone one of two ways, especially in the last 6 months. People that own Airbnb and VRBO and all those fun things. I don't even know what some of these are, to be honest, but I looked them up and figured out that all of these are different ways that people do rentals on their own. Some of these people, if they were in great spots or great towns that allowed rentals to continue, they're doing fantastic right now. Other people are probably at the worst financial point in their life because most people that bought these properties were leveraged out of the you-know-what to be able to make these deals work. And when they are relying on rental income every day or multiple rentals per week, and then all of a sudden something like COVID comes and they get no rental income at all, and now they don't know how to pay the bills, these are fantastic ways to be able to get listings, right? These people need to either rent and put an annual rental in there to be able to break even and pay the bills so you can get a listing that way, or they need to sell these things because otherwise they're in trouble and somebody's going to take it from them. So definitely a great strategy right now is attacking underperforming Airbnbs, VRBOs, things like that. Absentee owners, huge for us down here. I don't know the market as well up by you guys, but I would imagine it's very similar. People that had two homes or the luxury of a second home or a rental home or a vacation home, most of them are condensing right now, right? Some industries, thankfully, real estate has been really good through all this, but not all industries have, right? A lot of people are unemployed, out of a job, scared to travel, not knowing when or if they will be able to travel again. And that absentee property that they have is scary, right? They don't know what's going on with it. They don't want to have to manage a property from far away. Some of them are riding out a hurricane season from 1,000 or 3,000 miles away and don't know what the heck's going on with their property. So these people want to get out. So buying those absentee owner lists or getting them, however you do get them, some people buy them. We have some couple things in the works through Title with programs that we can help you even get those. So there's different ways to attract these lists, but absentee owners right now, really fantastic, whether it be a rental listing or a sale listing, either way, something that's going to help us generate some money. Next, expired. So we talked about that earlier, right? We know that everybody doesn't like doing it, but it is a huge opportunity to dive in, right? And we know that pretty much every expired, if I put my listing agent hat on here for a minute, pretty much every expired has like 5 objections. Number one, they're going to list with the same agent, right? Because they feel bad or whatever about the last agent. Number two, they're going to try their sister, their boyfriend, sisters, husbands, uncles, aunts, who's been in the business for 4 days and they want to work with them. They're going to try to sell it themselves, or they're not going to sell it anymore, right? Those are pretty much the same objections that you get every time. So learning how to handle those, really conquer them and get in there is important. What I want you to do, though, is put yourself in the hat of someone that just had an expired listing, right? They might get 100 phone calls on the same day. They're obviously pissed off. The same 2 or 3 scripts that everybody teaches don't always work, right? Just calling them and saying, hey, it's Ryan over at XYZ Realty. Saw on the MLS your home popped up as an expired listing. I'm just wondering when you're going to hire the right agent to do the job, right? They might get that same phone call 100 times a day. However, we really need to get back to the motivation of why they were going to sell. And that's what's going to get them the appointment, or that's what's going to get us the appointment. So in that same call, when we call, hey, it's Ryan over at XYZ Realty. Saw your house had popped up as an expired. And I was just curious. I just had one question. 6 months ago, on whatever that would be, on March 14th, when you decided that you wanted to sell that house and you had plans to move, where were you going to go? And whatever they say, I wanted to move to Fiji. I wanted to move up north for my grandkids. I wanted to move west for hiking. Whatever it is that they're going to say, you're going to say, great, are you still interested in doing that? And about 90% of the time, they're going to say yes. And you're going to say, great, that is exactly why we need to meet. Are you available today at 2 or tomorrow at 4? Get them back to that motivation. Use that to kind of needle them a little bit and set yourself an appointment that way. And we know that if something expired before, good chance it's price. It's pretty much always price, right? But there's something up with it. So if we can get a new listing, repackage it, new marketing, price it correctly, we're selling that thing in 2 days. So let's get after some of these expireds. Next, the FSBOs. They usually only have one objection, right? Does anybody know what it is? It's that they hate realtors and they're cheap. I guess it's kind of two. They hate realtors and they're cheap, right? So we have to help overcome that. One thing that we've done, we've tracked FSBOs like crazy over the past 7 or 8 years. And I just want you to know the number of touches that it takes on average to convert a FSBO is 12. And what we find is that most agents give up after 1, 2, or maybe even 3 attempts. Being able to work with a FSBO is all about having a follow-up system that goes at least 1 touch a week over 12 weeks. So that's 3 months. And realize in this market that we're in, a lot of them are going to sell, but the ones that don't are going to be frustrated because they see their neighbors and their friends selling, and they're going to be looking for opportunity. So keep that in mind. 12-point follow-up plan for any FSBOs that you're going after. One thing that we used to do that really worked very well with FSBOs is we would print out every single document in the Florida Interactive forms, and we would give them to the FSBOs. And the goal is that you just want to overwhelm the crap out of these people. You want them to look at that and think, oh my God, I had no idea how I had this many forms to go with. 10% of them are going to be smart enough to know that they don't need to do that many forms. The other 90% are going to look at the HOPA document and the seller disclosure and the coastal insurance document and the lead-based paint rider and all these things and say, holy crap, I didn't know I had to do all this. Even though it's not necessarily relevant to their property, it's going to overwhelm them into picking you, right? Or into realizing that they need help. So think about that when we're talking FSBOs, because these people are already raising their hand saying that they want to sell. So we don't have to overcome the objection of do they want to sell or not. We need to overcome the objection of they hate realtors or they're being cheap. Either one of those. And for every single person, are we going to get it? Of course not, right? However, there are a lot of them that are going to fail and recognize that they need help. And if you're there to help, you're getting that listing. And it's usually a very, very easy listing once you get it because they're already defeated. So now they know they need help. They know they need to trust somebody. So when they get to that point that they actually hire you, you're in pretty good shape. Next, database emails. I want you to send this email if you have a database. You're just going to write in the title, thought of selling or thoughts of selling or thinking about selling, something like that, thinking about selling in 2020. And then the first line or the little sub-line that you can put that gets seen in the preview, if you know or knew that prices are at the top of the market, would you sell? And then just put your contact information or a little video or something like that. But just write that down. We just send those back through our old database. Like we keep a pile of seller leads, and our teams and everybody that I work with, I just teach them to keep piles of seller leads. Anyone that ever says, yeah, I would sell if, or yeah, I'll sell when. And sometimes it's when my kids finish school, or some people say I'm not leaving until I'm in a bag. Whatever it is that they say, that's fine. But if they have any conversation with you about selling, we want to trickle some seller emails on them because they're hearing it in the news, right? And they're usually hearing mixed things. Regardless of what news you listen to or what you like, some days it's good, some days it's bad, and they don't know where they're at, right? So if you, as their realtor, someone that they know, a familiar face or familiar name, gets in touch with them, letting them know that the market is probably at the top. It definitely is at the top of what it's been in the last, 13, 14 years. This is a great opportunity just with cold email to start stirring the pot and getting people thinking about selling and just getting that in their head. Next, divorce attorneys. I know this is not always the most fun piece of business to work. However, every one of you guys should have a divorce attorney in your database that you take to lunch once a month and try to grab a deal out of that. We know it's a fact around the world. This is not me just saying it. With all these people cooped up inside and actually having to spend time with their significant other, there's more divorces now than there ever have been before. And there's more coming in the next 18 months when all the aftermath of all this fun stuff happens. So knowing that divorce attorney is a great option because very often what happens is either spouse is usually not allowed to recommend an agent because they want somebody that's considered neutral. So they go to the divorce attorney and start talking to them about who they know or who they recommend. So having one of these people in your database or in your network could be the next 5 years top money maker for you. So if you don't have one already in the network, find them, reach out, look on Facebook, see who you know, call around, do whatever you got to do to get in touch with one of these people. Next. The Geo Farm, so the geographic farm. I teach a really great farming class that if you guys are interested in, we can bring that to you at some point. But the Geo Farm right now is working better than ever. It's crazy, but direct mail, calling the farm, working the farm, events in the farm, helping people, helping your neighbors around, that need help or that have struggling businesses is working now better than ever because all of a sudden we're knocked back into a sense of community. And we just passed September 11th, which was probably one of the worst days for anybody that lived in the Northeast at that time, like me. And if you see any of the posts going around, one of the things that I always love is they say how much they loved what was America on September 12th, right? Everybody came together. It didn't matter where you live, what color you were, who you voted for, what social issues you were into or not into. Everybody came together. And we're seeing this happen a lot now. You see it with natural disasters, but it always is very, very short-lived with natural disasters. We're seeing it on such a large scale now with COVID, the neighbor helping the neighbor and the neighbor connecting with the neighbor. So being in a geographic farm and working them and servicing them, some of the top teams that I deal with now, they are just calling their geographic farm and just saying, hey, it's Ryan at XYZ Realty. Just checking in. Do you or anybody in the neighborhood need anything? It has nothing to do with real estate. Of course, the conversation obviously always goes to real estate, but just those check-in calls on your farm, doing something with food, or we have some people that are having, the ice cream man come on certain days or certain catering events. Just anything you can do to get that sense of community together in a geo farm is really, really big right now, is working really well and probably will as long as we're, semi-quarantined or semi not normal here. So strike while the iron's hot. If you're new on this call and you've never created a farm or done anything, start with something small. Pick an area, maybe 100 or 200 homes where there's somewhere over, ideally, 8% turnover, and just see what you can do to help. Nobody's doing that right now, and the people that are absolutely crushing it. Open houses. I don't know how that is by you, but open houses are back by us, and I'm sure they're coming back by you, or if not, they will be soon. But open houses are one of the best ways to generate seller leads because a lot of times what we get in an open house is one of two kind of people. You get someone that's thinking about buying, right? So they want to know, or you get the nosy neighbor that wants to compare the house that you're sitting in and holding open to their house so they can do that comparison in their head about value, right? So we always used to ask people when they would come into an open house, we would say, look, we know people that come into open house have one of two objectives. Number one, they're thinking about buying in the near future, or number two, they're thinking about selling in the near future. Because why the heck else are we spending time in our busy life to go sit around in somebody else's house? If we don't have the idea that we're going to buy somewhere soon or sell somewhere soon, we're really not going into open houses. So huge source of generating leads is the open house. Some of the people in our area know that our team was kind of known for crazy open houses. So we would get multiple. At one point, we had 8 of the 12-foot monster signs that said open house. We also had a 50-foot red carpet that went from the front door all the way to the road. We also had queue lines, like the old-fashioned ones with the velvet ropes with the metal stanchions that you could kind of like walk through if you were going to a movie or something. All these things that created the most ridiculous experience. And for every open house, we would put out 50 signs leading up to that house. And yes, of course, we wanted to attract buyers. And yes, of course, we wanted to sell that house and make our seller happy. But the reason we did the most ridiculous open houses like that was because the sellers or the potential sellers in the area would always see that. And I can't tell you how many times, days, weeks, months down the line, we would get a call and someone would say, hey, I saw you did an open house at our neighbors, the Smiths, over at 123 Main Street back in June. And truthfully, I've watched 4 other agents in the area do open houses, one from XYZ, one from ABC, one from 123 Realty, and none of them even compared to you. And when I was really thinking that I needed to sell my home, yeah, I've gotten some postcards and I've had friends recommend me realtors, but at the end of the day, I wanted to look at who was going to make the biggest effort to sell my home. And when I looked at other open houses, nobody even compared to yours. So we're not interviewing anyone. We want you to sell our house. I cannot tell you how many of those calls we got, all from putting on a show at an open house. And it was obnoxious. I'm not going to lie or say it wasn't, because it absolutely was obnoxious. However, at least 2 a month, we would get come list me calls, which are the best calls ever, by the way. Come list me calls that were direct response to an open house. So if you're not doing open houses, you're missing out. And if you're not doing them at a crazy high level, I just want you to think about that. And if you guys want an open house class down the line, we can do that as well. All right, builders. I don't know what new construction is like up by you guys, but by us, they're starting to get a little scared. And when they start getting a little bit scared, they start partnering with local realtors. And they realize not only do we need realtors help to sell these houses, but when people walking off the streets, we need realtors help to be able to sell their houses, because most new construction communities and companies do not allow their employees or their agents to go and do outside normal retail transactions. They can only participate in the new construction that's on property or on the lot or that their builder sells. So they need to partner with realtors that can help get Mike and Susie Smith, who walked in off the street to buy the new construction but have a house to sell. They need someone that they know that they can trust to be able to sell that house, sell it in time, make sure it appraises, make sure they have a solid deal on that end to keep together the new construction deal. So the way you build those relationships is just time on task over time, right? There's no magic pill to this. It's usually a lot of coffee, a lot of donuts, a lot of little presents, a lot of little pop buys. And before you know it, when you start building those relationships, it's great. If you've never sold new construction, it's like next to a referral, it's like the easiest money you can possibly make in real estate. And when you get the other end of it, when you get to sell to people's house that they need to sell no matter what to move into new construction, you're setting yourself up for a great opportunity. So find the local builders in your area. Usually I would start small because some of the bigger ones are a little bit harder to crack into. But just start popping in, getting in there every couple days, you know, meet the person that works at the desk or that does the scheduling, bring them coffee or donuts or breakfast or lunch or whatever. Get in there and see them whenever you can. If you're a realtor who does events or does parties or anything like that, or has any side hustles where you sell whatever people sell now, shampoo and the fingernail things that are going crazy, do them at their property. A lot of times they'll let you do them on site there to drive traffic to their communities. And this is how you can start really building that relationship. Next, home valuation. So these have been around forever. I would say 10, 15 years, but they are starting to make a comeback because people are finally realizing how ridiculous Zillow, Trulia, and Realtor.com is. So the idea behind the home valuation tool is you pay for a tool or you build a tool yourself that you put on your website and you drive traffic to it. And the goal is that when people see it, they put in their name, their address, some basic stuff about their house. And when they do that, you call them and set them up basically with a listing appointment. And they're usually doing it for one of two reasons. Number one, they have something in mind that they want to buy. So they need to figure out if they sell, do they have enough money left over to actually be able to buy? And number two is they want to get a refi. So while I realize as real estate agents, we can't get paid on the refis, you can help out Kent and Cindy and send them the refi deals, still stay a part of it, you know, be able to help your database move forward, and still be able to be a part of this transaction. So down the line somewhere where that person knows someone or they do need to sell, you're in there. Or of course, half the time you get a listing, right? It's a great way to attract listings. Next is the database. We spoke about this one a little bit earlier, but still the number one source for leads and for business is that database. So we talked about the past client part of the database. But right now, if you're doing those reach outs, if you're doing those touches, if you're talking to friends, there's really no way someone in your database is not making a move in real estate right now. You just have to find them, right? It's your job to find them. If you're not using a database or regularly working one, now is certainly the time to start, especially while some of us are stuck home. More people than ever are answering the phone now because they're home. More people are spending time on social and on their computer because they're home, and that database is still huge. Next, join a team. So if you've ever thought about it, one way to get listings sometimes is get on a team. Find a team that's a high-producing team that focuses on listings. And if you want to be a listing agent, a lot of teams will set up, deals for you where they'll have inside salespeople or they'll send you on listing appointments. And yes, you might make less money because you're splitting it with the team. However, quality of life is going way up because you are focusing on listings, right? And we know if we take a bunch of listings, put them in the MLS, we're not running buyers around as much. So definitely an option is always joining a team. Direct mail. Direct mail over the last year has seen the biggest spike it's seen in like 20 years. I've always been against direct mail and never been a big direct mail guy. But now while people are stuck at home, they're reading their mail, they're getting their mail more than ever, and they're looking for options. And realtors are really taking advantage of this now. If you've never done direct mail, there's really two basic strategies that people use for it. One is called EDDM, Stands for every door direct mail. And basically what that does is you send the same postcard to everybody on an entire postal route. And because you do that, it knocks postage down to be way, 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 way cheaper. I have people down here that are doing the design, the print, and the send for about 35 cents per piece, which is pretty cheap compared to other things. And the other way that people do that work really well is bulk mail. And this allows you to address them. So they're actually individually addressed instead of just to every house on the route. And this usually costs about double. It's usually somewhere between 65 and 75 cents per piece. However, it's individually addressed to them, and you don't have to only send to a certain route. So you could send to all of your database. You could send to all those absentee owners that we spoke about earlier. You could send to areas where there's common foreclosures or distress or lots of turnover. But direct mail is definitely a big factor right now while people are home so much and really just yearning for something to do. Befriend a flipper. I know I told you I had some corny jokes, so that's Flipper the dolphin. Finding a flipper right now is one of the best things you can do, right? Because flippers right now are cashing in. That's one thing I do myself, is that they are buying the bank owns, the really rough shape properties right now, getting them back on the market. And when you are working with one of these flippers, you get a great deal. Usually you get the buy side commission and some kind of a discount on the sell or a discount on one side of it, but you're getting two deals. With the opportunity then to market it to get your own buyer. So very often you're actually getting 3 transaction sides out of this. For a lot of people right now, the flipping game is kind of at the peak, right? It's way up there right now because a lot of people have a bunch of money sitting around right now and they know people are losing their jobs and everybody has not had the best luck throughout this COVID. So there's opportunity out there for sure. And these are people that you could just do a handful of transactions with a year and make pretty good money. So if you have a local real estate investor association, I know we have them down here that I go to all the time. I would get yourself involved in one of those. They're usually free or very cheap, or even start one on your own. What we used to do is we had once a month, we would do an investor little workshop, little meeting kind of thing. And we would invite anybody that we knew that was thinking about investing in real estate. And we would have myself do the presentation. We would get a mortgage lender that we work with there. And then we would get our title person. We'd put all of them together in the room. We would do, let's say, like a Wednesday night at 5 o'clock. Usually we would do some wine and cheese or something to get everybody pumped up and going a little bit. We would do a little seminar on how and why to invest in real estate. And then every individual seminar, we would have one deal that we would pitch. And we would pitch that deal to the people that were there. And I can promise you there was never a time where we did not sell that deal, because usually what would happen is we'd have somewhere between 15 and 20 real estate investors or potential investors in the room at one time. And nobody wants to see the person sitting next to them win the deal over them. And they go back and forth until somebody finally gets the deal. And you, as the real estate agent, you got a deal, right? Nice and easy. And then when they turn that thing around, you got a deal again on the back end. So definitely befriend a flipper. Whoop, sorry. Pre-foreclosure and short sale, potentially coming back, right? We don't exactly know everything that's going on with the forbearance and with people that lost jobs, but definitely a good space to be in right now. If you have IMAP or anything in the MLS that predicts these things, good spot to look. Liz Pendants from your county clerk is a fantastic spot to look. They are usually public knowledge, very easy to find, and give you the addresses where you can go start doing some homework on there. Even sites like Zillow and Truly and Realtor, once you get to know me, you'll know I really hate Zillow more than just about anything else in real estate. However, they are really great sometimes for grabbing data. They have those pre-foreclosures when people start missing payments. That gives you the opportunity to get in there and start making some calls, start knocking on some doors, and building your list of potential sellers. Big data. These are companies that aggregate or put together data to sell back to you, just to tell you who's most likely to list. So there's 2 really popular ones right now. One of them is called Smart Zip, and the other one is called Offers. It's spelled OFFRS, like the word offers without the E in it. And what these 2 do is they tell you, okay, if you're looking at an area of 1,000 homes, here's the top 200 that are most likely to sell. So instead of having to door knock and call all 1,000, you just call the top 20% of them. These are not cheap, these 2 sources, but for the nerdy kind of people like me, they can be a good option. Bandit signs, iBuyer, instant cash offers. So the We Buy Houses people, if you've ever seen one of these or if you've never seen one of these, I will tell you, before I got in the flip game personally, I thought people were out of their mind, that there's no chance in heck anyone would ever call one of these people or do a deal with someone that they meet off the side of the road via a yellow sign. And up until the day after I did these the first time, I was sure that they would never work. However, they sure as heck work. In any market, at any time, if the market is up, down, left, right, sideways, good, bad, or ugly, these silly signs and instant offer options work all the time. And while you might not actually want to buy the houses, there's a very good chance it gets you in the door for a listing appointment. And if you go back a couple slides to where we're talking about flippers, partner up with one of them and say, listen, if I get in the door on something and these people are not a good candidate to be a retail listing because they're hoarders and they don't want to show and they don't want to sell and the house is in such bad shape, then I'm going to wholesale you or send you a flip deal. If not, and it is a good option, then great. Then I'm going to get a retail listing out of it. Either way, it's a win for you. But tons of options out there between the signs, the iBuyers, and the instant cash offers. Even if you just know somebody that has some money, right? This is an option for them. Instagram and Facebook polls. So this is one of my favorites. I teach this in social classes all the time, but I like to throw it in here because it works. If you're not doing Instagram or Facebook stories or polls, you are seriously missing out. You can go and just post a little question just like this right onto your story that says, are you ready to sell your house? Yes or no. And guess what happens within the next 24 hours while this thing is live, because they last for 24 hours, people go through and they look at this. And when people are clicking through these stories nonstop, they click on these polls all the time. And let's say 10 people say yes and 4 people say no. All the people that say no, you follow up and say, great, what's holding you back from selling your house? And all the people that say yes, you follow up and say, great, when's the best time we can meet? Today at 2 or tomorrow at 4. Easiest listing leads you will ever get in your life is through social stories and polls. It doesn't cost anything to do these. You don't have to pay anything. They take 9 seconds to create once you've done one and you learn it. And you can run something like this every week. Next week you could do, are you ready to invest in real estate? The week after you could do, are you thinking about buying a rental property? The week after you could do, if you could sell your house and move up, would you? Right? You could do these polls endlessly and they will have responses all the time. I was just testing this feature out. Instagram has a couple new features. One of them is called Reels. And I was testing this out the other day and got 170 responses to a stupid question about the sunrise because I ride my bike to sunrise every morning. The engagement on these things is just out of control. It's absolutely unbelievable. Just listed calls. So one of the things that we like to do back in the past was circle prospecting. And if you don't know what that is, basically you figure out where you are doing a deal or where you have a deal going on or a business partner or somebody that you know is doing a deal, and you make a call around that area and say, hey, Joe Smith, it's Ryan over at XYZ Realty. Your neighbors, Betty and Steve Smith, just listed their house over at 123 Main Street for $400,000. And I was just curious if we could get you $400,000 for your house, would you think about moving? So every time someone that you know lists the house or your brokerage lists the house, easy call to make. Price improvement calls, same exact thing. Hey, Joe Smith, Ryan at XYZ Realty again. I talked to you last week when your neighbors, the Smiths, listed their house at 123 Main Street for $400,000. Guess what? We just improved the price to $375,000. So now that it's the best deal on the block, who do you know looking to move to the neighborhood? Same thing for under contract. Steve Smith, guess what? Ryan at XYZ Realty again. We listed your neighbors, the Smiths, at 123 Main Street for $400,000. Then we improved the price, and guess what? Today we are under contract, which is really great for us. However, because of all of our marketing efforts, we do not have any more houses to sell these people. So who do you know looking to buy, sell, or invest in the area that we can work with? Same thing for just sold, right? Same exact script. So every listing or every deal that you do or that your brokerage does, multiple reasons to make those calls. Nice and easy. All right, in summary, 29 different ways to attract listings. If anybody wants to stay and chat about any of these, I am more than willing to. I hope that you guys got something out of today, and really I hope you just nailed down somewhere between 1 and 3 of these that you liked, that you can take and implement tomorrow and start doing tomorrow. and make yourself and your family some money before the end of this crazy, crazy year. We know that whenever we start doing activities, 90 days later, we get paid. And if we look at 90 days from now, we're what, at Christmas, I think, right? We're pretty much right at the end of the year. So hopefully these things help you guys enjoy that holiday season. If you haven't already sent us deals at Professional Title, please do. For those of you that are already sending us deals, we appreciate you so much. If there's anything that we can do to help you drum up some more business, let us know. And we did record this, so I will get that out to Kent and Cindy, and they can distribute it to you guys however you want. If you did like what we did today, please let them know, because I only get to come back if the feedback was good. So if you like this, let them know. My name's Ryan McHugh. If you did not like this, my name is John Weber, just so you guys know. Slide design. Kerry does all of our slides, all of our graphics, all of our marketing, all of our GIFs. So if you need any help on the marketing end, feel free to always reach out. And I'm looking forward to seeing you guys again. Hope you had a fantastic day and hope you learned something. Thanks, guys.